Well, hello and welcome to the first trip with the Micro Minnie. And to be honest, this is not at all what I expected this trip to be or had planned originally. As the snow on the mountains suggests, I actually just spent the better part of the last hour driving through a snowstorm with like super strong winds. The trailer is pitched sideways, and yet we're in the mountains, and despite it being a bit chilly and me running very late, or I should say behind schedule, lessons were learned. Turns out cheap gas is not worth the time and agony and almost taking off the right side of the trailer because that gas station wanted to put a boulder in the way. Anyways, like I said, hello and welcome back, and thanks for joining me on this trip. So I'm gonna hop back in the truck and get going because it's not exactly warm out here up in the mountains, and I'll fill you in on where we're headed. So let's get going. All right, so let us get on the road here. Oh, yeah, trailer connected. That is one pet peeve of mine with Fords. I love your vehicles, however, every time you turn the vehicle off, it disables the trailer tow function on the transmission. Very annoying. Okay, so we are actually headed down the Highway 93 south from the Trans-Canada Highway towards Invermere, more specifically Radium Hot Springs. So there is actually a natural hot spring that they've sort of converted into a public attraction, but that is in the very south end of Kootenay National Park up here in Canada. Kootenay is actually just on the British Columbia side of the border. Right now we are in Banff, but we're just about to cross the border, if I haven't already actually. So this trip originally was supposed to be an episode on the Scouting the West series over on the Grey Wolf Bike channel. However, the snow has sort of put a large damper on that plan. This is kind of more of a test trip, so to speak, to get me, I'd say, familiar with the trailer, but quite honestly, figure all the things I'm missing. Gosh darn, this RVing stuff, there are so many little things that you need. I mean, really, it's like furnishing your house all over again. So, as mentioned, I am running super behind schedule to the tune of about 2 hours, but that's okay. We will get there when we get there. There is a gorgeous view ahead of me right now, and we're just gonna enjoy the drive and make the best of it. So yeah, let's get back to it. add kitchen towel to the grocery list. Good morning. Well, I'm inclined to say good morning, but if I'm being truthfully honest, good midday is probably more accurate. I slept good. I slept really good. Now, I don't know if that was a combination of the mattress and pillow system that I installed, future video, or just getting in late and being tired and, you know, having a partially stressful drive, you know, driving through the winter conditions that I initially encountered. First official night, super cool. From coming from a rooftop tent the last 2 years, it almost seemed too easy last night to set up. But it was so nice to wake up with all these windows. For 2024, as you would have seen in the, or maybe it's not out yet. Nevertheless, there is a 2023 to 2024 comparison video for the Micro Mini products. 2024, we have this huge window here. It used to be much smaller with the marble surround, excuse me. But yeah, it's really, really nice. This brings up a good question for you guys. In every residential application, you need to have an exhaust fan to pull away, you know, moisture, oils, that sort of thing, and vent it outside. But in RVs, of course, they're not subject to those same requirements, so it doesn't have it. But especially when you're using propane that's, you know, producing carbon monoxide, what's people's opinions? Would you rather have a an exhaust fan? I don't know many trailers that actually do, perhaps on the really high-end ones that are far outside of my budget and, you know, just in a completely different class. But yeah, so I've cracked the window for now, but I'd be curious to get your opinion on that. Oh. I'm laughing because last year, when I was out in Squamish, I was camping on the side of the mountain, beautiful spot, but it was raining, and I managed to just make a cup of coffee before it really came down. And I essentially got stuck in my tent for 36 hours straight after that because I couldn't make anything. I was cooking on the tailgate, so everything I would have made would have just got soaking wet. And yeah, it was a struggle. So to turn from a stove to sitting in this nice dinette. Yeah. What do you say? Anyways, excuse me. Lots of little things to do today that I'm going to bring you along with, including installing some nice key hooks that I picked up. I wanted to wait until, you know, I was actually using the trailer to see how I felt about some things. And yeah, so plus, you know, ceremony and whatnot. Nevertheless, what has been stressing me out genuinely for about a week now is to winterize or not to winterize. Thus be the question. And or sorry, not to winterize, to de-winterize or not de-winterize. And I've thankfully had a really great resource for asking these sort of questions. So thank you to Jeff, you know who you are. Nevertheless, if I should say, if the water station is open, it is my intention to de-winterize the trailer today. So intentionally last night, I left it hooked up. There's also one fewer things to do, which was also nice, as I did get in somewhat late. Nevertheless, I didn't see any hoses there, which is concerning, but I also didn't see any pylons like blocking it off, so I don't know what the situation is over there. The water tap for the campground is open, which is awesome. And I guess worst comes to worst, I can always ask some park staff to borrow a hose and then return it if they're worried about like freezing overnight, because it is dipping down to the freezing point. However, camping as we are, one of the heater outlets, if you've watched the HVAC video, it does blow underneath and it keeps all the tanks and all the lines and stuff from freezing. So I'm not worried about that. It would be more like once I get back to Alberta and having things freeze in storage. But it does not look as though the weather's going to be conducive. There's no like really cold nights and whatnot coming up. So that is the plan today. So I'm sort of like tentatively moving around the trailer right now, full well knowing that I'm going to end up having to pack it all right back in, drive over, and hope to do that because I really would have liked to have had a shower last night. Granted, the facilities here, outdated for sure, but has everything and they're nice and clean, so kudos to the park staff. So, you know, worst comes to worst, and they're quite literally right there, so but I would just like to have that comfort, you know, of being able to use the resources that we have in this trailer. So I think that's been about 3 minutes. I'm going to pour myself a cup of coffee, and I will join you in a little bit. All right. Let's get out of here, shall we? All right, so we are on our way over to the park office to check in, which, full admit, apparently I should have done by 10 a.m. It is now 12:41, so that's a whoopsie doodle on my half. It's interesting though. I wish there was like an online check-in or something like that. And then after that, we will see about dewinterization and having a look here. Oh, I cannot tell. Let's just drive right through. Are there hoses here? I think yes, there are. Hello. Or are you? No, that's a conduit. There are no hoses. That's not good. I'll have to inquire with the park staff. That is not good. There's the spigots. I don't know if this is just a learning moment for myself that I need to now carry a hose to fill or purge, I guess, or what the situation is. So I might be adding something to the shopping list. Let's see here. All right, slight change of plans. So it turns out the park used to have hoses to connect from the spigot to fill the trailer. However, everyone stole them. So at this present time, they don't have any officially for use. The lady had suggested that they may have, on my request, they may have one like 100-foot long hose in their maintenance facility. So at this present time, I'm headed back to the campsite. I'm gonna have I have so many things to do anyways with the trailer that we're just gonna start doing that, and then we shall hopefully be met by park staff who may be able to help us with filling that, because a lot of campers are going to be in for a surprise if they don't, and yeah, that would be desirable, I think, for a lot of people if they drive all the way out here hoping and expecting to use the full functionality of their trailer and not be able to. So back to the site. All right.
That's in case you forget how to do it.
What's that, sorry?
In case you forget how to do it next time.
Do you know what? What's funny actually is that this is the first time I've ever done it. So.
Oh no!
Yeah, I got the. I'll have the reference material.
See where you went wrong.
You gotta learn somehow.
Sure enough.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Okay, well, good luck with your stuff.
Nice chatting with you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, take care.
You too. There we go. So, the absolute legend that is the maintenance worker here, she was kind enough to lend me one of their commercial hoses. So we've got that set up now to the city water connection, which should be bypassing the freshwater tank and should be just sending a pressure to the hoses. So we're gonna go inside and then we're gonna systematically drain each hose to empty out all of the antifreeze. Move the things out of the sink. And I'm not sure which side is cold and hot, but we're about to find out. So again, with the city water connection, it's bypassing the water pump so that we're not worried about turning on the water pump. It's a low pressure right now because I had it set low because I didn't know. Some people use like water pressure regulators and stuff, and I don't have one. It's still pretty pink, isn't it? Yeah, that looks pretty clean. How about this side? It has like a vodka smell to it, if I'm being entirely honest. There we are. So that looks clean to me on both sides. Oh no, some aeration there. Yeah, I'd say that's good. All right, I'm gonna go around to all of the other faucets and taps and do the same, and I'll meet you back outside. Okay, so we have all of the lines purged of the fluid. Much easier process than you'd think. Just go around and open up all the lines. And yeah, that is close. So now we disconnect from the city water here. There's probably gonna be some residual pressure still in this tube. Now, the city water, again, it bypasses the fresh water tank and it bypasses the water pump, so there still can be some residual antifreeze between the pump and the faucets. So from here we go around the other side and we have to use a gravity fill the freshwater tank, at which point we can then purge all those lines. People will then do a sanitization. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I did bring the bleach with me. It's just one extra step, and I'm not sure I want to do it. So, anyways, let's go around and fill the freshwater tank. There we go. All right. Yeah, as I suspected. So I'll just have to hold it here. This is not a nice system. Come on, Winnebago, we need a Nautilus here. I think that might be all we're working with for pressure. So this is where, say, having a garden hose fitting and maybe like a 3 foot, not even 3 feet, 12 inch, 18 inch hose on it to actually fill it up would come in handy. Hello. So I do apologize. I really didn't make much of any video content yesterday. We're actually on Saturday now, and the reason being is I just spent pretty well the whole day making videos and filming and, unfortunately, troubleshooting. We have run into, well, many problems, but they all seem to be related to the same core problem. Being that we don't have any reception or like one bar, I'm effectively able to send it, let's open the sunroof because it's summer and why not? Let's see here. There we go. So we are going to head down into the greater metropolis that is Radium Hot Spring, and maybe even a little down the highway into Invermere. And the reason being is try to get to some reception so I can do some Googling, or worst comes to worst, I actually head over to an RV dealership and maybe they would be kind enough to give me some advice. The problem I'm experiencing is there appears to be air in the water system. So I filled it all up, or I should say, as you saw, in the dewinterization process, the pink antifreeze was all drained into the gray tank, and then the fresh water tank was filled up and that was run through the lines. So everything should be full and is full. However, all day yesterday, the water pump was pulsating, and I could not for the life of me figure out why. My mum, shout out to Mom, over on her channel, Kathy Goes Camping, she did some Googling on my behalf, and one of the possible solutions was to open the low point drain valves. Honestly, I don't know why the low point drain valve would have air in it. You'd think that the gravity of the water would displace air to the top of the system. Nevertheless, I dumped probably like 10 liters, I imagine, out of all of the 3 low point drain valve locations. And interestingly enough, in the bathroom and in the shower, they're no longer pulsating. Okay, that's good. But the pump itself is still pulsating, as is the kitchen sink. Moreover, I received a warning error message from the Truma Aquago Comfort Plus, and that I'm specific about that because the Comfort Plus has a recirculation pump and that return circuit. Wow, there are a lot of big trailers over here. That's super cool. Very few people in the area that I'm in. Sorry, I should have mentioned. So I thought before I go down into town, I would take a tour around some of the park. I was speaking to some of the park staff yesterday. It's actually really nice. Very arid. This is what you would expect in the Invermere, Windermere Valley. Oh, this is really nice. There is a cool overlook down into the valley. Yeah, so I just wanted to come for a little drive through. Oh, there's the Winnebago that I saw coming in yesterday. Nice. Shout out to some other Micro Mini owners. Is that a 2108? It is. Very cool. Love to see it. Where was I? Yes, so bathroom sink and the shower seem to be working good. The kitchen sink, still not good. Still pulsating. The pump is still pulsating when the bathroom and the shower are going as well. So that's what we've got ourselves into. Did I not drain enough water? Perhaps. I can't imagine I would have to do that every time, though. I'm going to cruise down here into G, because I don't know where I'm going, and it looks interesting. Very cool park here at, where are we, Red Earth? Yeah, Red Earth. Lots of topography, so there's like little valleys. Oh, here's a deer right here. I'll grab you and show you. Anyway, so we are gonna head out of here. It's a nice little area, very small sites down there, but you could easily fit the Micro Mini. Cool, let's go. Well, I'm just leaving the Kicking Horse Coffee Cafe. For those who don't know, Kicking Horse Coffee is a Canadian roaster, definitely on the like big end, like large scale operation end of the spectrum. You can find their coffee in pretty well all the major grocery stores, but they have a really nice cafe that they actually just updated a year or so ago. Super nice. I came for the free Wi-Fi and iced latte. I stayed for the existential crisis. Let's get into it. My purpose for using the Wi-Fi was going to attempt to diagnose what I have perceived to be all one same issue, which is the spurting of the water, or pulsating. I don't know quite how you want to describe it. Basically indicating that there is air in the system. I think I mentioned earlier I did the low point drains, and that improved a couple of the faucets, but not all of them. I received an error code last night on the Truma CP Plus, basically their main, like the centralized, what do you call it, display unit, which controls the water heater, the furnace, and the air conditioner. And I was able, with my 1 bar of reception, to Google that error code, and it mentioned a recirculation pump. I was like, oh, okay, so I'm interpreting that as there's air in and around the water pump, etc. I knew that it wasn't properly winterized because there was winterizing fluid in there. So I thought, okay, well maybe, you know, something that I did in the dewinterization process, you know, ended up putting water, or air into that pump, or maybe it's all one sort of related, you know, big issue, and, you know, there's air being sucked in through the return line or something like that. At this point, I kind of wish that was the case, because one thing I hadn't mentioned, and I feel kind of guilty of it, because I was like, well, Colin, this is the entire purpose of this trip, is it's like a fact-finding and a discovery, et cetera, is that I was also, and maybe this is just myself second-guessing, you know, my own abilities or whatever, but I was experiencing issues yesterday with the heater not turning on when I was calling for heat. I was increasing the temperature. At one point I set it to 30 degrees Celsius. I thought, okay, maybe have I burned through an entire 20-pound tank, but then I was able to light the stove, so I knew that wasn't the issue. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. It turns out that the warning error code that I interpreted was the water pump is actually the furnace, saying there's a recirculation flow issue. But it gets worse still. So not only is there an overheating problem that I'm experiencing that I guess other FLX owners have experienced, when he had the panel off to show the componentry and the layout of the unit, at least on his being a 2022 model, so we have a 2024, so I'm essentially trying not to rage drive all the way back to the campground. But his only had one outlet from that heater blowing into the coach. And I was explicitly told, I'm pretty sure I remember who from, that there are two outlets, one blowing into the enclosed underbelly and one blowing into the coach. And for me, that's incredibly important, but even still, I think it's essential to the usability of the product in general, this off-roady, kind of go everywhere around the world unplugged kind of product, if it doesn't have a heated enclosed underbelly and you're entirely reliant upon the little 12-volt pads, which really just keep the actual fluid in the tank from freezing, but don't do anything for providing heat to the valves that are enclosed down below and the lines. So I do apologize for not including you in the error message. I kind of feel bad because, again, that was a pointless trip, but I promise I will do better. So we're on our way back down to the trailer now, and we're gonna pull off the panel, and we will discover together whether or not this, or I should say, how poorly that this may be designed and put together. For the first trip, this is not exactly a comforting feeling, so yeah, let's head back now. Never wanted to be wrong about something more. Does that make more sense? I don't know that. I don't know what I'm saying. I really hope that this is what I believed and understood it to be. I'm gonna have to take this off first, I think. Wow, let's keep it off for now. Holy hell. Not only that, wasn't even really connected. It's all smashed. There's no clamp on here at all. All right, so I'll show you what I'm looking at. This is the cold air return. Now, we can see amongst this just pile of wires here that there is somewhat of a cold air return. So I always wondered why this was sort of, this directional thing kind of didn't really do much. And it's because you can see on the back side, it was already crushed in this like S bend. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up on camera. But what's important to note is that this was never attached onto here. There are a couple of tabs. I don't know if this is the hardware that Truma officially endorses. I can see there's a screw holding it on this end, but there was never anything holding it onto here. So as we've bumped down the road, it's just come off. And that was probably what was contributing, because it was probably blowing hot air and then sucking back in that hot air, blowing hot air, sucking back in, and it was just leaking from itself to itself, which is the return code that we got. And more importantly, there's one outlet. It's not a heated underbelly. This is horrible. Like, this is really bad. Because, as mentioned, the only thing keeping all of the pipes from freezing is nothing, really. I mean, the heating pads on the tanks are not designed to heat an entire enclosed underbelly. Oh man, this is, I can't. Well, I sat on the floor for long enough. You might be able to hear behind me, I have the heater on. Needless to say, the panel is off. I mean, there's no easy way to say this, but that's just a fire hazard. It's a heater, a 13,500 BTU heater, blowing its air into a confined space that's improperly vented. I actually did notice on the back side of the refrigerator there was ice condensation formation. I didn't understand it. I thought maybe I didn't have the temperature set cold enough, but it's frozen. In fact, it's frozen in the fridge. So it must be cold enough. What I'm thinking is every time the heater's kicking on, it's blowing that hot air up behind the fridge, because the fridge is sitting right on top of the heater compartment, let's call it. And it's causing heat to go into the fridge, and it's creating condensation, that hot cold, and then the fridge is turning on, and then it's trying to fight against the heater and cools it and creates the ice. It has an obvious fix, sort of. I understand, I don't agree with, but I understand why they've done what they've done, because the way it's constructed is if you pull that panel off and it was somehow magically attached on the inside, you'd never get it off. So you need a way to decouple the outlet from that panel, and I don't see it being a pretty solution. And so they've probably just said, okay, well, we've bent it in the area that it's generally spitting out its heat. Let's catch that. But I was thinking about this even more. That S-bend is going to create a resistance. Think of it like it's fluid dynamics. So think about it like a liquid, right? So every time you have a bend in the river, it resists it. There's a resistance. And as there's a resistance, that's how floods happen. So the water or the hot air flows in other areas that is not normally going. Those other areas are in that cabinet because there's a resistance with the bend in that conduit. So I anticipate the solution that will likely be offered from Winnebago, which would be, well, we'll just re-engineer, leave the cupboard door off for now, we'll re-engineer it, and we'll attach it to the outlet. you know. But here I am buying a Truma Akugo antifreeze kit, so you know you can when you're transiting from point A to point B, your hot water tank isn't going to freeze and explode when there's nothing keeping the pipes and tanks from doing that underneath. I really want to be wrong about this, but I don't foresee Winnebago coming back and saying, okay, somehow we didn't know in the engineering, design, whatever, maybe the manufacturing and engineering were disjointed or something like that, because this is supposed to be the premium model. So, you know, I talked to them already about why the premium FLX model doesn't have ducted air conditioning. There's no way the premium model should also not have a heated enclosed underbelly. You shouldn't have to pay more money and get a substantially compromised product. I'm inclined to end the video here. I have one more night. I'll be packing up tomorrow, and then I'll be making many phone calls on Monday. I'm not sure what else there is to say. If there's anything worth sharing between now and tomorrow, I'll add it. In the meanwhile, thank you for watching. Maybe or maybe not see you in another one. Well, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I've woken up. I'm like, why is it cold in here? And there's absolutely no 12 volt power to anything, including the slide. We have shore power. According to the solar charge controller, 0 amps in the battery. So this is frustrating because we're hooked up to shore power, and the inverter charger should have been maintaining the 12 volt power on the battery this entire time. And obviously it hasn't been. So the only solution I'm aware of that I could possibly do is empty out the entire storage compartment, break down and remove the false wall, disconnect the battery, and then hook up a manual 12 volt battery to that. Or I wonder actually if I hook up the truck, there might be enough 12 volt power from the truck to bring in the slide. I'm going to start there. Okay. don't know what's happening, but so I have no idea what's happening. I just pushed the button that was flashing on top of the battery, but I'm not going to take this chance. I'm going to run around and pull up all the stabilizer feet. So I don't know what happened there, but the blue light on top of the battery was just flashing. So I pressed it. I pressed it with the intention of turning it off, and the whole electrical system's come alive. I'm hoping it's because I've been trickle charging it through the truck this entire time, through the very tiny gauge wire that it is. So I was able to pull up the stabilizer feet. Don't forget this guy. There, my nice little mats. Now we're gonna drop the tongue jack, and I'm just gonna proceed as normal. I'm gonna leave this all pulled apart until I'm ready to pull out of here. So I apologize. I managed to get the slide in. I wasn't taking any chances, but what I'm going to do here is on my phone I can check what percentage of the battery is remaining. It said it's in bulk, so it must be low. So I'm going to check that now, and then I'll report back in a second. So I just checked the Lithionics app, and there's 10% battery remaining. So what I think happened with the blinking light is it got down to its like safe reserve or something like that, which if that's the case, oh boy, Lithionics, are you some smart folks, because that 100% just saved me. It could have saved me before I pulled the wall apart, but such is life. Why the Xantrax inverter charger was not charging the battery this entire trip, I don't know. It was connected to shore power, and so I didn't turn on the inverter charger to invert because I was on shore power, which the control panel was showing me. What I'm wondering is if you need to have the inverter charger turned on even if you're not inverting, so that it does the charging. That said, and I'm almost annoyed to admit this, almost as annoyed as I was when I got up this morning in the cold, is this was a unintended, reluctant learning experience, because I ended up using 90% of that battery, and so that gave me Thursday night, Friday night, and half of Saturday night. So 2 3/4 days? I mean, the big sell was, 5 days off grid, right? So knowing that I have 10% battery, what I'm gonna do, let's turn the truck off here so we don't have to annoy the neighbors, but I would love a coffee. At this point, emotionally, I'm gone through quite the roller coaster ride. Let's slow things down, and yeah, let's go make a cup of coffee, and then we'll get out of here. I need this. So I was just having a think, or rather, I had a thought when I was just getting everything all buttoned back together outside. And I wonder if, as we saw, there's the ice formation inside of the fridge, which I interpret to be caused by hot air getting trapped in that compartment and blowing up, and then causing it to melt freeze, which then one would think perhaps the fridge was running harder than it normally would for longer than it normally would. So that would have drained the battery slightly faster. I mean, it must have been out for a while. This stuff it's cool, but that might also be because that was way too much milk. That might also be because it is fired back up. So oop. This poor trailer's a mess now. Hopefully I'll get a little bit of a charge on the drive back. Oh gosh.